Hi, my name is Cecile Johnson. I am CEO of African Development Plan, and I'm here today as part of Global City Unity's community outreach. We're here to keep you informed about issues affecting the global African community with the goal of trying to find solutions. So this series that we're doing is part of a project called Connecting the Dots, which is a 2015 response to issues facing the Black community in Chicago, Illinois, and is a collaboration between African Development Plan and the National Black Agenda Consortium, Chicago. Today, my guest is one of my favorite people. His name is Steven Heath, and I call him L. L is the founder of Heaven on Earth Herbs, a local company whose mission is to reestablish commerce with Mother Africa to bring us the healing herbs from the ancestors, which he calls ancestral medicine. So today's show is going to be a focus on health. Welcome, El.
Thank you so much, Cecile, and it's such a pleasure to be here.
Same here. What I'm going to do, El, is I'm going to give the community a little data, and then from the data, we'll go into talking some more about what health is, okay?
Okay.
So in Chicago, we have, or in Illinois, we have a poverty rate of 14.7%. But when you look at the data, and you break it down into black versus white, 31.6% of black people are in poverty versus 10% or actually 10%, 9.5% for whites, okay? When you look at some of our communities like North Lawndale, 45.3% poverty, East Garfield, 45.4% poverty, Burnside, 47.5% poverty, Inglewood, 47.8% poverty, and Riverdale, 58.3% poverty. You see that the face of poverty in Illinois is a predominantly black thing.
Absolutely.
Food deserts. That's another issue, right? Communities that have no or distant grocery stores or have an imbalance of health food options will likely have increased premature death and chronic health conditions. So even though we have poverty, we also find that even though Latinos or Hispanics are not as wealthy as whites, right? Their communities tend to have equity when it comes to food stores, lots of food stores, fresh vegetables, etc. It's only in the black community and perhaps on native reservations you don't see that live food, that access to food. It's easier for you to get fast food than it is for you to get real food, right? So I have a quote here that you had actually given me some time back. You said, we must know the difference between food versus filler. Food is something you eat, which regenerates the body, providing vitamins and enzymes to make the body strong. Filler is something you eat, which does not generate the body.
That's right.
So we're going to go into that. So what does this mean? Because of these inequities, the poverty and the food deserts, we see that there's a great difference between black and white life expectancy, right? The difference between a white man, 75.9 years, and a black man is like 67.66 years, right? So you're seeing that there's a gap. And in Chicago and in Illinois, it's actually like an 8-year gap between white and black. And what you're also seeing is that for black men, their life expectancy has gone down between 2007 and 2012 by, say, 2.3 years. And for black women, it's been 3 years. When you look at the city of Chicago, where you live makes a big difference. So you'll find that if you have a household with income over 50-something thousand, you'll have a difference of 14 years in life expectancy, okay? So segregation still exists in Chicago, and it's directly tied to the state of our health. When it comes to infant mortality, what you're seeing is that 5 white children will die per 1,000, and you'll see 14 black children die per 1,000. But we live in the same America, right? Which allegedly we have equal access to everything. When it comes to maternal mortality, you'll see that 1 white woman died in the period which was 2000-2004, and 27 black women died. In the same time, in the same place, in the same city, right? So when we say race is not a factor, race is obviously a factor because the discrepancy between white and black is always so high. So this kind of inhuman or inhumane deprivation that exists is in the dysfunctional, low-income, crime-ridden, because they're usually crime-ridden also, environments that the government likes to call a slum, or they call the targeted census tracts, right? And they know where they are, right? Lead to stress, anxiety, abuse, poor nutrition, infrequent doctor visits or no visits at all until the time of delivery. And because of lack of money and lack of health insurance, we've seen this explosion in a health crisis in our community. Inadequate micronutrients, insufficient vitamin B, and infections of all kinds, and that leads to the birth defects, which gives that discrepancy between how many white children die versus how many black, and how many mothers died giving birth in the city of Chicago. So, given that little data, Steve, I know sometimes when I talk to you, you're always giving me data, right? On diabetes and heart disease and all of that. Given some of that background, what is it first that got you interested in health, right? Tell us a little bit about yourself, because you didn't start off like this, right?
No, I didn't.
So tell us a little bit about yourself so people see how we,
Well, I started off about 10 years ago, and I was normal. Normal means my relationship with food was that I'm hungry, it tastes good, I'm full, which is the general relationship that we have with food. My cholesterol was at 289. I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And the doctor wanted to put me on Lipitor and other medications. And I decided that I was not going to be normal. So I went and I eventually ended up going to Israel. And I found a vegan community there, the Black Hebrew Israelites. And what I found was that I didn't have to eat the foods that we normally eat, and that I could be satisfied. So I came back here, I started a company, Totally Vegan, which is a food business that prepares foods that has no meat, no dairy, no eggs. So 100% plant-based diet. So that's my history. From Israel, I went to Africa. I bought land there. We began to farm there. And we have 50 acres there. And I said, what could I grow that would most benefit the community? And in my research, I learned about moringa, I learned about soursop, I learned about turmeric, ancestral medicines that are a solution to our problems here and around the world, because in reality, the root of all of these problems, all of this data, is our disconnection from Mother Earth. Okay. We have been totally disconnected from the earth. So because we're disconnected, we don't get the nutrients from the earth. We don't get the economic benefits of having land. As Malcolm X said, if you're not fighting about land, you're not fighting about anything. So what is the value of the land? All economic power, all power for health and food comes from the land.
Okay. So you, just as a sidebar, I noticed that you have on this beautiful necklace, and this necklace has a symbol on it. What is that symbol? Is it something tied to what we're talking about here today?
It is. This is one of the ancient African symbols called Ndinkra symbols. Before Europeans came, we had a set of values and morals. We had culture thousands of years before they did. This is Sankofa. Sankofa means to reach back to the ancestors, to take that which is good and to use it to build the future with. So when we talk about ancestral medicines in the area of health, our ancestors didn't use prescriptions, our ancestors didn't use pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals are man-made, but our bodies came from the earth. Mm-hmm. So the solutions to our health problems has to come from the earth. The medicines that we are taking are artificial. Right. They are not of the earth. They are molecules that have been changed around. One of the scriptures says, 14th chapter of Ezekiel, 14th verse, I believe, Lucifer says, I can ascend my throne above the throne of the Most High God. And then he says, I will be like the Most High God. To be like something is to imitate it. So what we're eating is an imitation of food. What we're taking is an imitation of medicine. In this culture, it's said that we can do better than Mother Earth. We can be more scientific than the Creator. We can create better medicines. We can create better food. But in the process, the result tells which is better. Right. The results that we face here and all of this data and all of these situations comes from us being disconnected from Mother Earth.
Well, you mentioned that you've been to Ghana, right? That you grow moringa, right? And I happen to have seen a video. And when I saw the video, you almost wanted to cry, and cry because the earth has given us solutions that we're not using.
Yes.
You've also talked to me a little bit about what is in moringa, right? And why is it in Ghana they give it to prenatal women and to young babies?
Yes. John Hopkins Medical School in Baltimore, Maryland, did a 14-page report on moringa. This report under nutrition says, ounce for ounce, moringa leaves contains more vitamin A than carrots, more calcium than milk, more iron than spinach, more vitamin C than oranges, more potassium than bananas, and the protein quality of moringa leaves rivals milk and eggs, which means it has 18 amino acids. It has all 9 amino acids that your body cannot make, plus 9 more. So it's nutrient dense. There's only 2 reasons why we get sick. This culture has called it diabetes, heart attack, cancer, liver failure, kidney failure. There's only 2 reasons we get sick. It's getting too much of what we don't need and not enough of what we do need. If you give your body the food from the earth, the nutrients from the earth, it can actually regenerate itself. So nutrition is half of the formula and detoxification is the other half. I say reach back to the ancestors. Many people that are my age, and I'm 62, they remember when the ancestors would line us up, they'd give us castor oil. They would detoxify our body every season.
Right.
We'd have to stand up and you'd have to take the castor oil. You'd even take a drop of turpentine and some sugar. You would take different things that would kill worms, that would kill parasites, that would make you go to the bathroom. But now the first thing we'll say, is that going to make me go to the bathroom? Well, I say better out than in.
I'm from Jamaica, and when I go home now, in fact, when my family's coming, I say, could you bring me some worm medicine, please?
Yes.
Right? Because we know that we get worms from different things, right? From the food that we eat, from walking on the ground barefoot, all of that stuff.
Yes.
So I agree. And back home and in other places, people are not as fat as they are here. So when you look at the way that people are looking, their obesity, they're carrying a lot of the waste still with them, right?
Well, all over the world, they look at Americans in awe. And what it is that the businesses that create food for us, because we don't create food for ourselves. Our food is grown, manufactured, processed, packaged, and given to us by somebody else.
Right.
So in doing so, they take away the nutrition. And they create food that makes you addicted to sugar, salt, and fat. Their scientists have developed ways to make you crave sugar, salt, and fat. So it's the food that we eat that causes us to be obese. It's the food that we eat that causes us to have, we have to take the power to define back into our own hands.
Right.
Let's start with diabetes. Diabetes, in my definition, is an environmentally influenced, self-induced eating disorder. Why do I say that? Because in the village where people are growing their own food, in that environment, they don't have diabetes. So it's environmentally influenced. It's environmentally influenced because the businesses and the FDA have putting foods on the shelf that are really not foods, they're fillers.
Right.
If you go into a gas station, you see rows and rows of what we think is food. It's chips, it's cheese, it's artificial things in a can full of preservatives. Now, if the gas station with these things in it is the only thing around your neighborhood within walking distance, kids are going to go there and they're going to eat that.
Right.
Instead of eating fruits and vegetables, they're going to eat what they can get. So it's environmentally influenced. It's self-induced because we have a choice to eat it or not to eat it.
Right.
And
But
it's
if you
an
have
eating
no
disorder
options.
because when you eat differently, diabetes goes away.
Right. But again, that comes to the options, right?
Yes.
So
We have
even
to
though
have
we have that
choices.
choices, so one of the questions I was going to ask is, what as a community can we begin to change, right? Because we know some of the communities we live in, we have lead in the soil, right?
Yes.
And we have other environmental issues.
Yes.
So what are some options? I remember there was a show. There was a like a garden, not a garden. It was an urban farming show over on the west side, and after the show they had people who had goats and were raising chickens, right?
Yes.
And they said you can go and go to some of their homes and look at it. So I said, hey, I'm gonna tag along. So I went to this lady's house, and she happened to be a white woman, and she had the goats and she had the chickens, and she said the only people who were giving her problems in the community were some of the people who looked like us, right? And they said to her, we left that in Mississippi, right? So part of the issue that we're having is the disconnect has become so great.
Yes.
And the trials and tribulations of what happened to us while we left certain places, we have connected certain things that shouldn't be connected.
Yes.
Because yes, we might have grown cotton. Yes, we might have been in the fields all day. However, we still did need food.
Yes.
Right? So when we're looking at community now, how can we get community to not only reevaluate, redefine how they see food,
Yes.
but reevaluate how they become involved in the process, not just going to a store, but maybe a garden, you know? Talk about that.
That is our problem. We put it on someone else to grow our food. We have to go back to local, sustainable models. Mm-hmm. If, for instance, this neighborhood grew tomatoes, this neighborhood grew corn, this neighborhood grew green beans, and we had local gardens, not only would it solve our food problem, it would begin to address the economics. Because then we could have a market day. In Ghana, Wednesday is market day. Everybody comes and shops on Wednesday. Everybody brings out their wares. So we have to create a market day. We have to begin to start growing our own food again. I'm growing collard, I'm growing kale, I'm growing tomatoes, I'm growing eggplant. But I'm growing a variety of things. But what if this block said, okay, we're going to take a couple of these vacant lots and we're going to grow nothing but tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And another block over there, we're going to grow nothing but corn. And then when they come together, it's bartering. So now for my corn, I get tomatoes, I get onions, I get this, but people didn't grow corn. So we have to do a different model.
Right.
We have to go back to the ancestors, because the model that we're working with now is a sustainable model for the people that are in power. They ship food all over the world, okay? But let's get back to controlling our food,
right,
controlling our land, controlling our resources. Everybody drinks water, but how much water do we buy from each other?
None.
We've become totally dependent on someone else to supply our food and our water.
Right.
And that's how you make a slave. You make him totally dependent on you for everything that he has. Yeah, we grew cotton, but we also knew how to take that cotton and make clothes with it.
That's
so
right.
we supplied our own clothes.
Right.
Yeah, we was out in the fields growing food, but yeah, we had our own food, fresh food, straight from the earth. So we thought we were running away from something to something better, but in reality, we were deceived, because the local sustainable model is the one that regenerates the community.
Right. So tell me this. I know I'm familiar with some of the food. Is it tasty? Because that's what people always say. If it's good for you, it isn't tasty. So what kind of food do you have, and what do you recommend for people who want to kind of, you know, bridge that gap?
Well, I bought some of the foods that I have so that people can see them, and I know you're familiar with my food. This is called a raw trio. Mm-hmm. Now this is a raw kale salad, a raw carrot salad, and a raw sunflower seed pate. Mm-hmm. Now I put this combination together for a reason. The kale is a leaf, the carrot is a root, and the sunflower seed is a seed. Mm-hmm. So there are 5 things that the immune system needs in order to maximize its operations. It's vitamin A, which you get from the kale, vitamin C, which you get from the carrot, vitamin E, zinc, and selenium, which you get from the sunflower seed. So this is actually a food prescription for the immune system. Because in Africa, there's an ancient African proverb that says, let your food be your medicine, and let your medicine be your food. So we have to go back to realizing that food is medicine. Mm-hmm. They have a video out called Forks Over Knives. Dr. Terry Mason,
right,
who's the chief medical officer for Cook County.
Right.
He says all the time, food is medicine.
Right.
So what you're eating is either regenerating or degenerating your body. It's usually a combination of both. But in this culture, our food degenerates our body more than it regenerates. Take kidney failure. 10 years ago, no one saw a dialysis center. We didn't see dialysis centers in our community.
Right.
But now you see dialysis centers popping over all over the place. Why? Because your kidney and your liver purify your blood.
Right.
So we're putting so many toxins into our body, so many chemicals that our body does not even recognize. We're overworking our kidneys. Right. We're overworking our livers. The main cause of kidney failure starts with diabetes.
So what we're basically saying is that by giving people proper food, right, getting them to understand that their food is their health and their health is their wealth,
Yes.
we're going to reduce the cost to community by all these dialysis clinics.
Yes.
That's the only new buildings in a lot of our communities.
That's
okay?
right. That's all you're going to see going up.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I've been noticing the trend, and I noticed too in Chicago, a lot of people die in their 50s, which is
Yes.
unusual for me because I come from a family of people who live way into their 80s, 90s, 100s, right?
Right.
And over 100. So, so you've addressed some really good things, and you know this issue again of taste. I really have to get back to it.
Where's
because
your fork at?
I did bring a fork, right? I noticed that you have jalapeno cheese, you have lasagna.
Yes, all
know?
of these foods are plant-based. That means there's no meat, no dairy, no eggs, 0 animal fat, and 0 cholesterol, which brings me to a point.
Okay.
610,000 people die a year from heart disease, which means cholesterol is clogging the arteries, blood flow is reduced to the heart and the brain, so we have heart attacks and strokes. And the majority of those people are African American. 24.7% of those people are African Americans, which means that 150,000 people a year in the United States are dying from heart disease. So when you eat food that is cholesterol free, these are barbecue bites, which means it's a meat substitute. It's made from wheat.
Right.
This is a lasagna. It tastes as good or better than any lasagna that you'll ever eat. But instead of meat, we use texturized vegetable protein. Instead of cheese from a cow, we make our own cheese from the soybean. So we have to redefine what food is. And we have to start eating food that regenerates the body. Do research. You can go on Google. You can get recipes. Try a meatless day. Try 1 meatless day a week and see how it affects you on that day.
Right.
Try 2 meatless days, okay? I thought I could never give up my chicken wings because I love chicken wings. But guess what? Chicken wings didn't love me back. So we have to love the food that loves us back.
Right.
We have to treat our food like we treat all of our relationships. Love that which loves you back.
Well, I got to say this. I've known you now for about 5 years. And you look younger now than when I met you 5 years ago, right?
It gets better with time.
I'm telling you, it looks like that. So I know, I want to get back again to the moringa because moringa has, like I said, they're using it to supplement. When I was in Florida, I went to Eco Farms, right? And they had us pick these leaves off of this tree. When I look back in my research, because I took pictures of it, and I took pictures of one of my classmates eating it, I was like, oh my goodness, they use it, right, as a part of the world food. Yet here we are in America, we've never heard about it.
It does not benefit the pharmaceutical industry, so they don't want us to use it. They want us to use things that benefit them. So all over the world, people know about moringa, but we don't know about it because it's so nutrition and detoxification are the keys to wellness.
Right.
So when we think about nutrition, we think about popping a multivitamin. That pill was made in the laboratory. We need something directly from the earth. See, Mother Earth loves you. She nourishes you through plants. So taking your mother's milk is like eating a peach or eating an apple because in those things, there are things in there that regenerate our bodies. So our total disconnection from Mother Earth is the cause of our economic downfall and our health downfall. So I would say reconnecting to our Mother Earth. The Industrial Revolution says it's man against nature. We say in our culture, the ancient African culture, man in harmony with nature.
I notice a lot of people that I know have anemia, right?
Yes.
What kind of stories can you tell me about anemia and moringa?
Well, we have a number of videos on our website where you can get a lot of data. The website is www.heavenonearth.com.
Okay.
Now on this website you can see the John Hopkins report. You can see testimonies from people that have been anemics all their lives that are no longer anemics. You can see testimonies from people that had sarcoidosis. Sarcoidosis is inflammation in the body. Her inflammation went from 102 down to 25. 20 is normal. You can see people that in their 60s and 70s are talking about they have more energy now. I have more energy now than when I was 35. Because at 35, I was not getting my nutrients. So if you go to our website, www.heavenonearth.com, You can get data from the University of Nebraska on detoxification. You can get data from the Johns Hopkins University on moringa. So there's a lot of data out there, and there are real people out there that tell you that they've had real solutions with moringa and also soursop, which from Jamaica, you can tell them about soursop because everybody in the Caribbean knows soursop.
Yeah, we drink that, and I've known that it has some cancer, you know, preventing, what would you call it?
Properties.
Properties, right.
The data shows it. It shows that it has definitely cancer preventing. They've actually filed 9 patents. Purdue University has filed 9 patents on soursop's anti-tumor properties.
Wow.
So they wouldn't be filing 9 patents, but they want to take a molecule and change it to something else. We can drink it. It kills fibroid tumors. It kills cancer cells. It kills parasites. It kills worms. But don't take my word for it. Look at the data. Watch the people that have taken it, the testimonies. One European lady had blood cancer. Another lady had tumors. Another lady had colon cancer. Listen to the testimonies. Look at the data. Reconnect to the earth. And the Creator made many plants. So I challenge you to do your research.
Right.
To find those things. There are plants all around us right here in Chicago that can bring us good health.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I remember going on a little field trip down to Pembroke with one of our brothers, Mark Haywood, and Mark took us around the yard, and we were grazing, right? We were just eating all these little plants and stuff. And in fact, now when I pass people's gardens and they have flowers, I pick them and eat them. So, you know, you have to know which ones to eat, but you know, we have become so disconnected. I take the children to the park, and there are fruits out there, and they're like, no, we can't eat this. You know, I'm like, yes,
I've had kids tell me, that came out the ground. I said, all food comes out the ground. It comes out the store. We are so disconnected. So we need to teach our children about agriculture. We need to grow a garden. Have the children help to dig. Have them water it. Have them weed it. Have them help you to cook it so they can understand that real food comes from the earth.
So, Elle, I want to really thank you for coming. We've just begun to kind of like touch the surface, right? And I'm going to have you come back and talk some more. But I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us what it is about our health that we can do something about, because this is something we can do, and sharing some ideas where people can follow up, look on the website, look at the testimonials. You know, the thing that he mentioned is how he went and did the research. Folks, you have to become involved in your own health. Your health is your wealth. I have a brother, every time he called me, he said, your health is your wealth. What have you done today, right? I mean, it gets on my nerves, but he's concerned, right? So we want you to do the same thing. So we want you to begin to look at food in a different way, not as a filler, but as something that should be nutritious, that is going to make you feel animated, excited, energetic, all of those things. And we want you to be able to do that. So, Elle, thank you. My name is Cecile Johnson. I am CEO of African Development Plan, and I want to thank Global City Unity's community outreach for giving us this opportunity to come here today and share this information on health. Again, this is part of a Connecting the Dots series, which is part of African Development Plan and the National Black Agenda Consortium. As we begin to expose what's going on with us here in Chicago, with not just to expose, but to also find solutions. So we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.